Hello. I didn't know if you were going to start it because you like took a deep breath like you were going to say something and then nothing happened. So
I think I'm just breathing.
That's good. Please keep breathing. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Big Bunny Stylist podcast. I am Danielle and this is my co-host Ani.
Hello.
We've been doing this podcast for probably about 3 years.
It's been years.
It's been years. And we love when you guys give us feedback. We try to share like what's going on in our industry, but even people that don't do hair are like, oh, I love the podcast. It was so good. So whether you do hair or you're a business owner or you just enjoy it, keep listening, keep sharing, and thank you for your feedback. We started doing Fucked Up, Fired Up, and I was like, I feel like I don't know if people like it or not. So I need people to chime in. Do you think people like it? Have you got any feedback?
I mean,
of
the
that?
students message us back. So
Yeah,
at least they DM me on Instagram.
Because they kind of know us. I have an academy with 400?
Yep.
About 400 students in there. And they obviously watch trainings from us every week, so they kind of feel like they know us. So when we share Fucked Up, Fired Up, it's more like personal stuff. So I think they like it because they feel like they know us. But and so I was like, do they like it on the podcast? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, it was so cute.
Danielle.
It was so cute. I was talking to my little 2-year-old, and I'm like, darling, and I randomly talk in accents, and they're probably really bad ones. And little Isla was like, darling, like she did an accent. It was so cute. She's only 2, and then she goes, Mom. She does this thing where she goes, Mom. Can I? I'm like addicted to Reese's. I know you hate peanut butter. I love
that and
Reese's
fucking eggs, dude.
so much. So, anyways, I'm sitting. That's like my treat at night. I have one little mini Reese's, and I'm eating a Reese's, and I actually hide them upstairs from my kids because I don't want to share them. And I put them in this little fridge that's in my room, so they're nice and cold. Anyway, I have my Reese's. I'm enjoying my treat, and cute little Isla looks over at me and goes, "Mommy, can I have one of those?" I go, "No." I looked her straight at the face. I said, no. She sits there for a minute. Mommy, can I please have what says please? Mommy, can I please have one of those? I'm like, oh, she's so freaking cute. I'm like, no, you cannot. They are all gone. She sits there again. She goes, okay, then I can have an ice cream. I was like, you smart. I'm like, no, you cannot have an ice cream.
You're like, I actually gave her an ice cream. I figured that's what this was.
Cute. That's probably my fired up. No, that's my fired up. I have a cute 2-year-old, and I love this stage. Like, I just think they say terrible twos, and it's literally my favorite age ever because their little brains are like thinking and they're trying to communicate, and they say the funniest little things like and they don't even like, she'll randomly say like curse words, and it's like the cutest thing to see a toddler swear for some reason. I don't know why. I laugh, and then she says all the time, she's like, shit, mommy, shit. And I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
Please don't say that, but it's funny.
I'm like, don't say that, but I'm like, that's so cute. But anyway,
I'm still living that child-free life, and it's working really great for me.
You got your dogs. You got your dogs. I've seen your Instagram. Man. You're snuggling hard with those little.
Oh yeah, well, and with my boyfriend being out of town for like 3 weeks.
Oh, I responded to somebody's story, and I thought it was yours last night.
Oh no,
I don't know why. I literally.
Girl, you're talking to someone else.
I was, and they responded back. It was somebody sharing a grocery list, and I was like, I thought it was you sharing it, and I was like, Ani doesn't cook, but it looked really good. It was like sautéed shrimp and well, and I was like,
to be clear, I do meal prep when Steven's gone.
You do?
I do. I have all my meal prep food. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I have to fucking eat somehow.
Either way, I was like, oh, can I come over for dinner? And then I realized I didn't DM you.
Oh, no. Some crazy fan is like, yeah, Danielle, come over.
No, it was somebody I knew. So they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, whoops. Wrong person,
like,
but okay.
But also, yes. Yeah, no. Well, the dogs are not allowed on the couch. But now that he's gone, I'm like, I want my cuddle buddies. Aww. So I invite them up.
Where is he working?
Yeah, he's in Long Island for 3 weeks.
Oh.
So boo. But
that's a long time.
Yeah, I know. He might be gone for 3 months next year.
Does he normally travel that long? It's been a while, right?
It's been a while since he's traveled, but yeah, like I said, he might be gone for about like 3 some months next year. So I'm like, I'm just not thinking about it.
You know what? Garrett was gone for a whole week last week, and I missed him, but it was delightful.
I know, but you guys have been married for a long time, and I still really like Steven. I still enjoy his company all
You know what? It's like, you know what? I still, no, I missed Garrett. I was like, oh, like I miss him, but I also was like, not freedom, but it was like, sometimes you have like this wifey pressure. You're like, oh, I got to entertain the kids and my husband and cook and clean. And it's probably pressure I put on myself, but
I'm like, oh, I don't feel
yeah, it's so nice. It just.
Given I'm also not a wife or a mother, but I do some of the cleaning. We have a cleaner that comes. He does the cooking. I just go to work
Oh.
and take care of the pups.
Garrett, in a lot of ways, at home is like another kid.
They say generally husbands are.
He does stuff that drives me. I'm like, I want you to want to do the dishes.
Do you know what Steven and I realize we have opposite things that bother us.
Oh.
For him, it's dishes in the sink. He doesn't like it, so he always does the dishes. I don't like dirty floors. So I'm always like vacuuming or Swiffering or like mopping. That's my thing. His thing are dishes, so it works out fucking great.
Okay, like as an adult, right? You make food, right? If our nanny helps and we have a cleaner, right?
Yeah.
If the nanny's not there and the cleaner's not there, why does it have to be the wife's responsibility?
Can I tell you a story that I wish you had been there for?
Drives me bonkers.
So I'm not going to say who this was because I don't want to call her out by name. So it's someone that we both know, and I'll say she is of Spanish descent. So when I heard this, I was like, very Spanish household. And she was saying, she's like, I feel like my kids are normally really respectful, but some days, she goes, one day I realized, I'm like, God, they're fucking assholes. Like, it's little things they do, like not putting their dishes in the sink, but not the fucking dishwasher.
Yeah.
So one day, this mother had it. She grabbed her son because she was literally like, there were no dishes in the sink, and he just put his dish there.
Yeah.
She grabbed him and she goes, go ahead, tell me I'm your bitch and tell me to put the dish away. And he was like, what? She goes, say, Mom, you're my bitch, put my dishes away. And he was like,
aggressive.
I don't. She goes, wait. She goes, say I'm your bitch because it's already what you're fucking saying by leaving the sink. She goes, say you're my bitch and do my dishes. And he was like, I don't think I should. She goes, well, put your fucking dishes away. That for me, I was like, oh, I know you're Spanish.
Yeah. I like very much like I call it like the wife role. Like I cook, I give my kids food, I give my husband's food, like whatever. But then it's like, if you make food, like why can't you, if you have time to make food, why can't you just put your fucking dish in the dishwasher?
Yeah. No.
Like, it drives me nuts. I'm like, I work too. I also have kids. Like, I wouldn't expect you to it drives me nuts.
Just leave it there and see what happens next.
It doesn't go away.
Well, put it on his side of the bed.
Some
parents have done that.
Oh my
They'll
God.
literally take dirty dishes and put it in their kids'
You know what else
beds.
drives me nuts? I'm just venting. But so he'll come home from a trip and he'll leave his suitcase out and he doesn't unpack it.
Ever?
Ever.
No.
No. I swear to God.
You have to be lying. That's so fucking insane.
And I will leave it there for days. And then the cleaner doesn't know if he's coming or going. So she doesn't unpack it either.
Do you know what's so interesting?
I unpack it.
No. Can we talk about that? Let's talk about expectation versus reality.
Yeah,
it's so funny that some people don't do that because they're like, oh, it's going to take forever to do. I don't want to unpack. It's not fun. I don't like it. But it's like, bro, there's the expectation that you have in your mind of this is going to take forever. And the reality of it's actually not that fucking hard. Just do it.
It's not.
Like, have you ever had a moment when you're doing laundry and you're like, oh, I don't want to fold. It's going to take forever. And then you literally like, okay, just commit to doing it, get it done. And you're like, oh shit, that only took 20 minutes.
Okay, so I'll give you an example yesterday. Like, I didn't have a lot going on. The weather was kind of gloomy and crappy.
Yeah.
And Garrett had gone to play with the kids. We went to the jump house. I'm like, my pregnant ass is not going to the jump house. Like, no. And I was like, it's Sunday. I don't know why I always have this rule like, oh, it's the weekend, you need to take it off. But like, I can work whenever I want. I don't have like a specific day where like, I mean, some days I'm like, yeah, I'm taking the day off. But there's like, when I have time, I work on stuff, right? But it's more hard to like get me motivated sometimes, right? So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, okay, I want to update this copy and update this copy, and I want to redo these photos, and I want to take these hair photos. And I was like, I immediately got like overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, like it's Sunday. You don't need to do all that. And then I was like, no, you have nothing else going on. Like they're literally like, cause I was like, I'll organize my closet. I'll do this. I'm like, no, you don't need to organize your closet right now. You need to get the shit done. And so I was like, okay, fine. So then I started doing it. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, And then all of a sudden like 4 hours went by and I was like, I got like a bunch of stuff done and it felt good to just get it done. And not only that, I was like, God, because I logged on to WordPress yesterday, which I haven't done. And I don't know how long I've gone on the back end of things. But in the beginning of my career, I had to figure all that shit out. I didn't hire people to do it. And like, I learned how to do a lot of that stuff, right? Yeah. And then as my team grew, I was able to delegate it. But then like, I was like, I'm going in, guys. I'm going in. And I was like, immediately like started to shut down. I was like, I don't know how to do this. It's Sunday. It's my day off. I don't want to do this. And then I was like, it can't be that hard. And if you can't figure it out, fucking YouTube or Google it. Come on. And so anyways, I got a bunch of stuff done and I was like, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And I think that's the problem is we immediately look at everything. And if we don't know how to do it, I don't know if this happens for you. It's almost like your mind closes down.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like, you're literally like overwhelmed before you even start. And then you like have this like weight on your shoulders of something that you need to do that's a lot heavier than what it actually is.
Well, and then not only that, but like, first off, yes, that happens all the time. But I think that can go really in any aspect. There's the expectation of what we think it's going to be, and then the reality of what it is. And I think it can definitely flip flop because sometimes we're like, that's going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Then when we start, we're like, oh, that was way easier than I thought. Cool. And then the flip side, we're like, psh, it's going to be so easy. And then we start, we're like, fuck. It's a little bit harder than I expected, but it's okay. But I don't really think that your expectation, regardless of whether it's going to be easy or hard, should keep you from trying.
Yeah.
Because and that can go for anything, whether it's marketing, whether it's friendships, relationships, motherhood, your business, hiring, firing. Right. Oh, dear Lord, restructuring. Like, there's so many things that we look at it or we think, oh, if I get started on that, it's going to cause this spiral. So maybe I just like won't look.
Well, and I think it's hard too when you're like really good at hair, whatever it is, and then you're like, oh, I have to be really bad at this or I don't know how to do it. My time's not worth figuring that out. And for me, when I figure out something I don't know how to do, I'm like, okay, I feel really proud of myself. And not only that, even if it's something I delegate out to my teams, I have a better understanding of communicating what I want done and delegating. Like, it's hard to delegate. Like, the biggest thing, like, I was talking to one of my girlfriends who hired a marketing company or something. And she said their Instagram feed was beautiful. And she's like, they were garbage. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, they copied my shit. They did this, they did this. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what feedback did you give them or what coaching did you give them? And she's like, well, no, they're the professional. They should know how to do it. And I'm like, I agree, but you can't be upset on an outcome on what they think they are delivering you, and you didn't communicate that that's not what you want. It's a team effort.
Yeah, so my boyfriend and I have actually had really similar conversations with him starting his own thing that we'll go through and like look at something, whether it's the website or email copy or the product itself. And I know I'm a very articulate person, and so is he, but I know with like 99% of my job is fucking feedback on one thing or another, you know? Right. So he'll be like, I know there's been moments where he's had that, where he's been like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I go, but did you say that exactly?
Yes.
Did you say, I do not like blank, I want blank? And he's like, well, no, but, and I'm like, hold up. I go, I understand your frustration, but at the same time, like, they're doing what they think is best. You know what I mean? And I go, and something to even realize with that is, sometimes words are not enough. Sometimes, so that's why even I told him, because he does have a marketing team. Oh my God, the videos are so fucking good. But even with that, I was like, literally send them photos and say, you can use A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, da, 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 da. You cannot use anything outside of that.
Yeah, if you give them no parameters.
Exactly, because although it's marketing is marketing, it's still an industry inside of an industry that I'm like, they might not be well versed in that. Yeah. But you are, so you look at it and you think, duh, that's fucking stupid. While I look at it and I'm like, that looks great. Oh, that's not what you wanted. Well, I never would have known.
Yeah.
So I think it's also having, that's once again, expectation versus reality. You're setting an expectation, but you're not being clear on the expectation that you're wanting to get back.
And sometimes you might be down this path working with somebody and you're like, okay, we've been in this relationship for a while and I feel like I'm kind of pulling this ship forward. Like I'm doing, like, then at least you're like, okay, we've had multiple conversations, it's not clicking, and then you can like kind of part your ways. But in my experience, like people that I've worked with, if like the more we work together, the better the relationship gets, the more they understand my vision, and the more I'm like, but I still am like, okay, I like this, I don't like this. Like we have a videographer that I use, and I have a very clear vision of like, even down to like, I want the music to transition here, I want this, because sometimes we'll be you might be watching your own marketing video and you're like, this is garbage, but you don't even know how to communicate why it's garbage. You're like, this is shitty, right? And so for me, it was like being able to communicate exactly what I want, not just like, this is crappy and I don't know why. That doesn't give them any constructive feedback. They're like, So you have to be really clear with like, what do you want? And this, if you're like, well, I'm not a video editor, well, then go research. And I'm just using this as an example. Go research. What do you like about certain people's videos? Well, how do you like the transition? Was it the music? Start paying attention to all these details, and then coach them and send them examples of other people's that inspire you, and that might help them, get a clear direction. But if you don't give them anything to work off of, and they're not in your industry, they're like, you can't expect that. And you'll continue to repeat that problem until you realize, like, okay, if you can't like look at you, honestly, like if you can't look at you and be like, okay, if everybody's garbage, all marketing experts are garbage.
You're garbage.
You might consider that you're not.
You're garbage.
You're garbage.
Sorry, it's you. Your communication's garbage.
Your communication is garbage. You don't know what you want. It's like you're in this relationship that keeps circling, and you want to blame the other person. And change starts with you. I actually made that post on my Instagram today because I was a little fired up. But it's like it's change. Change starts with you. So if you don't like the outcome, like how did you play a role in that outcome?
Well, and something that I feel like I've realized, obviously, being a trainer inside of NBR and talking to 400 artists, something interesting that I've seen happens even with salon owners and especially like business owners, that they had the expectation of what something would be, should be, could be, and then the reality didn't line up. And I have an example of how, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, here's what I wanted, here's the reality. But for me to change the reality to be what I wanted, it's going to cause a little bit of chaos. There's going to be waves. There might be kickbacks. So you know what? I'm just going to like lower my expectation and change my expectation to fit the current reality. Mm-hmm. And the best example I have is, I'm going to say like, not the best, but one example like immediately comes to mind is like bullying in a salon. Mm. Look, here's something that I'll say. I've said time and time again, I was a bullied kid, which is why I don't tolerate it. Like, in any way, shape, or form, I don't think there's any need to be a fucking asshole to someone just to make yourself feel better, whether it's framed out, like, whether you're actually legitimately
realize
just
you're
being,
doing it or not.
Well, not even that, but whether you're just being cruel or whether you're trying to, like,
make yourself
frame
look
it
better.
out. Yeah, like, fuck you. If you're being a dick, you know you are, and it's just unnecessary.
I think some people don't know they are.
I think some people are very well aware and they don't fucking care. And that, but it doesn't matter to me, all of it. And I have also realized that anyone who's been bullied has the same mentality that they do not tolerate it in any way, shape, or form. Right. I've noticed that some people who are like the popular kids, they're like, no, that wasn't bullying. And I'm like, oh, so you were the asshole back then? Cool. But that's something that I've realized is, and because I know obviously a lot of salon owners that they're like, well, I mean, so-and-so, she's not like a bully. Okay, well, yeah, she kind of is. She kind of sucks, but she's great at this. And I'm like, so you're now tolerating it. So now you're okay with it. So you, the person who stood there and said you wanted a salon that was, everybody was on board. It was, team help team members. Everyone was kind. They all got along. Now you're, instead of that being your goal of community inside of your business, you're now allowing a fucking shithead to come in and disrupt it because now you don't want to disrupt your own business to clear space and air.
Right.
And that's one thing I will always stand by. Like, whatever you permit, you promote. So if you know that there's a bullying or there's like cattiness or gossip or shit going on in your salon and you do nothing about it, it's because you're part of the fucking problem. And I guess I'll quote Garrett, you're queen of the shitheads. So congratulations. And like, but really, like, if you're hearing that and you're kind of triggered, like, that's on you.
I love what you just said. If you're permitting it, you're promoting it. Because honestly, that goes for relationships inside your salon and with your clients.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to really take accountability for what you're allowing in your space with your staff and with your clients. Like, I was reading a post today that was kind of like attacking the clients to respect us. Clients are 50% of the outcome is because of the client. I'm like, hold on. Did your client go to hair school? Mm-hmm. They didn't? So they're coming to you. They're seeking your professional advice. So I think I'm going to have to disagree with it's a little bit more than 50%. And also, if you want to see change in our industry, change starts with you. If you want your clients to respect your rules and not DM you and not text you at night, then you need to be the one to set up clear boundaries. Because I can tell you right now, if you have that conversation with a client, they will not continue to operate that way. And if they do, guess what? It's your business and you have the privilege and the ability to fire them as a client because they're not abiding by your rules. So like, I was like, you can't really attack people in your salon if you're permitting this to happen, if you're promoting this to happen. The same goes inside of your clientele as well.
And that's the thing. If you see something shitty happening inside of your salon and you're not willing to do anything about it, you are the problem. Like, congrats. And I said that to actually 2 of the trainers that were here this past week, that they were talking about people coming and going, things like that. And I was like, you can't be upset with them. I go, you are the fucking problem. I go, you created this. You caused this. You are the problem. And I know they kind of looked at me like, oh, and then they were like, you're right. I'm like, I'm right on that one.
Yeah.
Like, trust me.
You know what's so funny is people, when they vent, they're looking for, so we run this training called Fact Map. And normally, like, if you're talking to your girlfriend and you're like, this person's being a dick and da-da-da-da-da-da, like, a girlfriend's not going to be like, you're the dick. Because you'd be like, well, fuck you. I didn't want your feedback. I was just trying to vent. Do you know what I mean? But when you're in a coaching environment and somebody is like, well, you're kind of being the asshole, you really have to let that sink in. Like, that you're right. That's why I'm here, right? Versus if you're having a friendly conversation and they're like, hey, you're wrong, you might be like super triggered and offended. But I think like inside of this situation, she's like, oh, okay. And sometimes what I've learned too is like when somebody will tell me something and then I like mirror back what they say. And then when they hear me say it, they're all, is that what I just said? I'm like, that is what
I've done that. Where I'll be like, I'm just going to repeat to you what you just said in bullet points. And they just go, oh. So we are coming to the end of our podcast, but guys, really the biggest thing I want you to realize is I want you to just take a look at take a look at your business. What was the expectation that you had going into it? Is the reality living up? And if it's not, what needs to change? Or is there something in your life that you're currently avoiding because you're like, it's going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard. It's going to be too hard. And that's kind of kept you stagnant and running that hamster wheel and you're not able to move forward? Because if so, I might have you consider if you start it, it's actually going to be way easier than you thought.
Right. And honestly, look at your schedule throughout the week. And if there's like 3 or 4 things you're like, God, I've been putting this off for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year. Like, honestly, be like, okay, on Wednesday, I'm setting aside 4 hours to get the ball rolling. Because I find when I pick up momentum, I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then I'm not feeling so overwhelmed and so heavy. And then even if I don't get it done in that 4-hour space, I'm like, hey, I started and it's not that bad. And then I'll schedule time and I'm not like going to wait another 6 months to complete a project. So I always tell people, I'm like, it's great to have a vision, but honestly, tangible benchmarks and checkpoints throughout your week will help you move forward and not feel overwhelmed.
So guys, thank you for joining us here at the Big Money Stylist podcast. If you want to hear more about Natural Beaded Rose and Big Money Stylist, which is the business marketing and sales that supports NBR, go to nbr.education and you can read all about the Academy, the 12-month program. And as always, if there's anything in particular you want to hear about, send us a DM, let us know, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
All right, we'll see you guys next week, and thanks for listening. Bye.